Hey guys, and welcome to my kitchen. Thanksgiving is less than a month away, and I wanted to show you guys how I put together a pan of dressing. I make it ahead of time so I can pop it in the freezer and make my life a little bit simpler when that day comes. But another thing I like to do is when I have extra time is make quite a few pans of this. I freeze them in freezer bags by simply putting the uncooked dressing into the bags, releasing the air, flattening them out, and I stack them up in my freezer so you can bless other people with it, you can sell it, you can share it with the churches that cook for the community and share plates. But just think about things like that. But guys, never forget to be thankful on Thanksgiving for sure, but all year long, never forget to count your blessings. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys how to turn this pan of cornbread and toast into a yummy pan of dressing. So let's get started. Here are all of the ingredients you will need to make your dressing. Start out by making 2 packs of cornbread mix in a large skillet. I just added 2 tablespoons of oil to my skillet and popped it in a hot oven for 5 to 7 minutes. And then I poured my mix straight into that skillet and popped it into the oven along with 4 pieces of bread to make toast. The bread only cooked for 5 minutes and the cornbread cooked for 20 minutes, just like the package said. You can cook this a day or 2 ahead and let it set until you're ready for it. Now take a small onion or a third of a large onion and 2 stalks of celery. I'm just going to chop mine and put it in my little mini chopper and let the chopper do the work for me. This little chopper that I'm using is the KitchenAid, and it does not purify it. It's able to be controlled by your hand, simply pushing the button. So I just give it a few good pulses, but I do want it chopped really fine. Now you're going to add 1 stick of butter, and I like to cube mine into a large pot, and on about a medium-high heat, melt your butter, and also add your celery and your onion into the pot with the butter, and you're going to let that simmer for about 5 minutes. I want you guys to check out this wooden scraper that my Uncle Mike made me. It is so pretty. I don't even use it very often, but my goodness, it is beautiful. But after your onions, celery, and butter has sauteed for about 5 minutes, you're gonna add 1 can of cream of chicken soup and half of a box of chicken broth. That's about 2 cups. Now stir that together until it is well blended. You're going to turn your oven down to, or your stove down to a simmer boil, and you're going to cook this for 20 minutes. You want the onions and the celery to be translucent where you don't even know they are there. I don't want to waste any of that goodness, so I'm just going back into that can with my little scraper, and I'm making sure all of that goodness gets into the pot. I love, love, love my big bowl, and this is what I always make dressing in. And you're just simply going to take that cornbread and crumble it up in really fine crumbles, and do the same thing to the toast. And guys, I made this cornbread yesterday and the toast yesterday. I covered it with a towel and I just let it stay in that skillet and sit on my oven, my stove, overnight. It just kind of helps it dry out just a little bit so that it soaks in more yumminess, gets a little bit firmer whenever you cook it, if you like it like that. If you don't, add some extra eggs and a little extra broth. But this cornbread and bread mixture is the base of your dish. And so you definitely want the bread and the cornbread to be crumbled up in little tiny pieces. And I'm not gonna sit here and make you watch me do this, so I'll be right back. Okay, now that you have your cornbread and your bread crumbled up really nicely, or your toast, we are going to put whatever seasonings you love. So this is where you get to kind of create it your own. with the base flavor. So my Aunt Donna always used a perfect blend, which was an equal blend of poultry seasoning and Cavendars Greek seasoning. Yeah, Cavendars with the D. So these two right here make a yummy chicken and dressing. But taste these, and if you don't like them, then you can just use straight sage, which is what a lot of Southerners do. I don't like my dressing to be green and too sagey, but guys, poultry seasoning is a blend of black pepper, coriander, and sage, so there is sage in this. But we're gonna put 1 tablespoon of poultry seasoning, and I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of Cavendars. If you don't think that you're going to like this, just simply do 2 tablespoons of poultry seasoning. Or 2 tablespoons of sage if you like that green Southern dressing. But that's real simple, 1 tablespoon of each. And we're just going to kind of blend that around. It already smells good. Okay, and then this is another way that you can use eggs, raw eggs, or you don't have to use eggs at all, or you can just put boiled eggs in there. My Aunt Donna puts boiled eggs in hers, or she used to, and my Aunt Bonnie puts raw eggs in hers to keep it more on the fluffy side. But if you like more of a cornbread dressing that you can cut kind of like a square and it stay nice and firm, don't put eggs in there. But I'm gonna make this a fluffy dressing today, and I'm adding 3 large eggs. If they're small, then add 4. But I have a friend that gives me some of her fresh eggs, and they're really big, so I'm just gonna put 3 in there today. But just take your fork and whisk that up. And then the broth and the soup and the butter with the onions and the celery that we cooked on top of the stove, I have let that cool so it doesn't cook the eggs that I just put in there. And we are going to scrape that down in the big bowl. For those of you interested, this large scraping spoon was made by my Uncle Mike. There are a lot of good woodworkers in my family. I was blessed with a lot of talented dad, uncles, husband. They're all very talented in the woodworking area. And before I got it dirty, you could see how pretty it is, but look at that wood. I just think that's beautiful. So anyway, I'm gonna use my hands though, since I have my gloves on. And we are just going to simply stir that around. And I'm gonna kind of squeeze on it to make sure it gets mixed into that bread really well. Okay, so this is a nice thick mixture. You can leave it just like that if you want it to be on the firmer side, but I'm going to take the rest of that box of broth that we put into our mixture earlier, and I'm just gonna start pouring a little bit at a time. So that's about probably another cup that I put in there. And I want you to kind of see what I'm doing here. Just kind of folding and squeezing it all together. These gloves are a little large, so they keep trying to slide off. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little more. Just gonna go ahead and finish it off. So we used the whole box, the whole 4 cups of chicken broth, because I want this to stay nice and fluffy. And another thing, guys, you can put this in a crock pot in the morning. If you freeze this, then thaw it out the night before in your refrigerator. And then you can pop this in your crock pot on low and cook it all day. Or you can put it in a pan and cook it on 350 for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. But you want the top to get nice and browned, kind of like cornbread does. And then you can serve this with a giblet gravy, with a brown gravy, with cranberry sauce. And I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, I want the packets of brown gravy. That's my absolute favorite. And I want the cranberry blob that you pour right out of a can. Or it just plops right out of a can. But that is my favorite cranberry. But I'm gonna have my dressing with that cranberry and brown gravy, sweet potatoes, green beans, mashed potatoes, rolls. It's gonna be good. Okay, get all of that off my hands. Don't wanna waste that goodness. And then we want to make sure we taste test it, because if it does not have enough seasonings, remember you can't take seasonings away, but you can always add more. If it doesn't have enough seasonings, we want to add a little bit more in there. But this is kind of the consistency and the texture if you want a nice fluffy dressing. Okay, and there's nothing to be scared of in here, just to do a little taste test. That is flavored plenty because we cooked that celery and onion into the soup and the broth and the butter. That adds so much flavor. Again, that is another step you do not have to do. You can leave out the celery and the onion. Just dash in a little onion powder and celery salt if you want. But my goodness, that right there is Flavor Town. And it is worth cooking your celery and your onion to the translucent stage so that you can't even tell it's in there other than the power of the flavor. My goodness, that's good. Let's put this in a pan and we're gonna put this in the freezer and get real excited about Thanksgiving. And that's what it looks like, guys. You're gonna get a nice pan of dressing. Like I said, I'm gonna freeze this, but I am gonna show you my plate from last year's Thanksgiving meal that I had with my family. And so you can kind of see what this dressing looks like. It was on a paper plate, but it was on a pretty paper plate. So I hope you don't mind, but we try to keep things simple around here. But guys, this is so good. You've gotta try it. And tell me what you're thankful for. Don't forget to be thankful. If I didn't tell you, my father-in-law received a donor liver this year. He needed a transplant. We prayed for it for a year. He got that 2 weeks ago, guys, and he's doing really well. So I don't ever want to forget to give praises to the Lord for our answered prayers. And even if things hadn't went our way, we're still going to bless him. We're still going to praise him. But anyway, tell me what you're thankful for, guys. Pop it in the comments. Tell me if you try this and let me know what you think. Have a blessed day.